This is it, your final opportunity to join the 6 Pillars at Sea Marriage Getaway. In April 2025, we're setting sail for our last ever marriage getaway, and we want you there to experience the unforgettable journey to the extraordinary marriage you desire. Don't wait. Spots are extremely limited and they're filling fast. Get all the details now at oneextraordinarymarriage.com/getaway and reserve your place before it's gone.
From Naples, Florida, this is the One Extraordinary Marriage Show, where being busy is overdone, romancing is fun, and scheduling sex has taken the guesswork out of wondering when you're going to get some. I'm Tony DeLorenzo, your co-host, along with my beautiful wife, Elisa. From coast to coast and around the world, thank you for joining us. It's time to talk sex, love, and commitment. Give us a call or text us on the Hug Hotline at 858-876-5663, or send us an email to hugs@oneextraordinarymarriage.com. In today's episode, we're talking about budgeting for the holidays so that you and your spouse don't get the holiday financial hangover.
And Dave Ramsey has this to say about planning. He says, planning and saving for holidays like Thanksgiving and Christmas should happen months in advance. They are not a surprise.
Nope.
And that's what we're going to be talking about today. Avoiding that holiday financial hangover where, the expenses and all the spending and everything else leaves you going into January going, what the heck just happened? But first, we start every episode with a hug. And a hug is an opportunity for us to share what you're doing in your marriage, to share the breakthroughs and the transformation that you have. And this hug comes from a post in the One Family private Facebook group that started with, in light of the time change, I want to share a story my husband and I joke about every once in a while. But it honestly showed me how I was viewing intimacy with my husband in a very busy season. Years ago, when I was working 3 jobs, there was a fallback time change, and my husband was trying to initiate. I saw that it was 10 o'clock on the stove and said, nope, it's already 10. It's late, and I'm really tired. He said, but it's only 9. Clocks went back. All of a sudden, I had a burst of energy and said, oh, okay, cool. He was annoyed, but laughed at the same time. And now when it comes up, he still rolls his eyes at that. It showed me that I was treating our intimacy like a task and less of a connection, and how a change in perspective changes everything.
That's awesome. I love it. That's so good.
It's those little things. Sometimes it is the change in perspective. And I think even as we're jumping into today's episode, sometimes when it comes to finances and our financial intimacy and what's happening around the holidays, a little change in perspective can really be significant in our marriage. And we are rapidly approaching Thanksgiving. Christmas is right around the corner. Actually, I think nowadays it seems like Christmas, like the decorations start, I don't know, like back in September.
It's Christmas season. For me, it feels like Christmas hits, Halloween happens.
Well, Halloween happens, and then
it's like we miss the turkey. Like, put up the turkey stuff. Like, it's fun. But no, we go from Halloween to literally Christmas stuff everywhere. And this year it's a little different, I would say, for Elisa and I living in Naples, Florida. We are not cold at all. It's still like 80 something degrees down here, in the low 80s, which we love. Like, for all of you folks who are like, we love the 4 seasons, amen to you.
Thank you.
We love 80 degrees, but it is sort of like, hey, let's enjoy Thanksgiving and what it's about.
I like turkey.
I love my pumpkin pie.
You love your pumpkin pie.
Costco pumpkin pie.
There we go.
Gotta get it.
And we can talk about the food stuff that gets purchased over these next 2 months, because that is a big expense.
It is
for
absolutely.
A lot. As you're planning the holiday parties and that type of thing. For a lot of couples, this time of year also involves buying presents. It involves holiday parties. It involves travel all over the place, and all of these things can start to add up. And part of our story that we have shared over the years in the podcast is there have been Christmases where, when this gal, because she was responsible for the Christmas presents, overspent at Christmas by it was probably actually over $1,000 that year that I overspent.
Yeah.
I wanted to say hundreds, but full transparency, it was probably thousands. And
and when we say thousand, I would say
like low thousand, like
low.
like a little over 1,000.
It's still, but that was also at a time, and we've talked about this in the past, when we were going through the Great Recession. We didn't have extra money, so even a overspending by hundreds was impactful. For Elisa to go like into that 1,000 range was vastly in a whole nother realm for us because of what was happening in the economy and what was happening in our own lives.
Yeah, it's crazy to even bring this topic up because we most definitely had a financial hangover that January. And we know that this is an area that a lot of couples struggle with. And part of the reason we're doing this episode right now is because there's so much power in being proactive and committed instead of reactive and in chaos. And that was
That's
very
good.
much.
I just want to just stop there for a second because that is really good. It's time to be proactive and committed instead of reactive and in chaos. And I think many of us can feel that and understand that. When we are intentional and we're proactive, we have a plan. We're committed. We're taking action instead of the reactive. Something happens and then we all, not all of us, but many of us, me included, feel like we're in chaos. Internally, externally, we can feel like we're losing control of what needs to happen around our finances, our financial intimacy.
And if you think about a hangover, like an alcohol hangover, like you do feel
Horrible.
You feel horrible. Your body's reacting. It's all of this kind of stuff. You feel miserable, right? And that's what happens too when we can get into this place where we want to do all of the things during the holidays. We want to buy the gifts and we want to spoil our friends and spouses and we want to travel and we want to make the memories and do the things. And all of it comes at a cost. And I would say that the cost isn't just the financial cost. It's also the relational cost.
Yeah, I was going to say the emotional.
And emotional. Absolutely. And I think that's so much because of the fact that when we make these decisions, we aren't just making in a marriage, we aren't just making decisions that impact us. We're making decisions that impact a marriage. And without a plan, some of you want to call it a budget, some of you want to call it a plan, whatever word makes you more comfortable organizing your money. Without that, the two of you can't be on the same page. Right. And this isn't a small thing. Last week on Instagram stories, we asked, do the two of you plan a holiday budget together? And 52% of you said that you don't, which if I could take that one step further, quite possibly means that 52% of you find yourself in some state of frustration before, during, and after. And there may even be part of that other 48% of you that do plan, that don't stick to your plan, that still end up in frustration or irritation or in that place of having that financial hangover. Because yes, you made the plan, but I didn't ask the question if you stuck to it.
And that, yeah, I mean, you can have a plan, especially during the Thanksgiving, Christmas holiday. I mean, you can have a plan too, and things go awry. And not as you expected them to do. So you have it, and then how do you deal with it in a financial way? Case in point, was it only last year that we went to Puerto Vallarta?
Yes.
So last year, we're going to Puerto Vallarta. We're not going anywhere this year because we live, in my opinion, we now live in paradise. If I want white sandy beaches, I can drive 7 miles. I'm on a white sandy beach, and I'm in beautiful water. So I don't need to travel to Puerto Vallarta or...
But travel is still going to be part of this Christmas because we are flying Alex out here.
We are, but this is a whole nother story.
Back to Puerto Vallarta.
Going back to Puerto Vallarta. Planned the trip, bought the vacation package, all inclusive, bought the flights, everything. We land, we get to our hotel. It is not anywhere close to what we had expected. Or
not even close.
Or the 4.5, 4.6 star reviews that I was reading and reviewing on different websites. And so there came a point where I had planned, and Elisa and I had planned. We had budgeted what we were going to spend because for us over the last number of years, our Christmas isn't presence, it's memories, it's experiences. We're going somewhere as a family, and that's what we're going to do. And so we had our plan. Land, get to the hotel. It is not good. Like, not good. And what ended up happening is I'm spending a number of hours the first day on the phone trying to adjust and get somewhere else so me and my family can enjoy this vacation that we do love, and it's something that has become part of our family. And yet, when I am looking at other resorts and where we're going to have to go, it's going to mess up my budget and our plan of what we are going to spend.
Because keep in mind, we're trying to find a new place on Christmas Eve.
Was it Christmas Eve?
It was Christmas Eve.
Oh, I thought it was the day before Christmas Eve. I think it was the day before Christmas Eve.
Okay, so the 23rd instead of
Yes.
the 24th. Still, very, very close to Christmas.
And so even with a plan, things can go awry, can go a little sideways. We end up making it all work out. And yet I look at this and I'm like, that was a bit of a financial hangover for myself, because it was like, I'm doing what I got to do in the moment. And I know many of you have had to do this too. You're traveling somewhere and all of a sudden a snowstorm comes in and you got to change flights, or you got to get into a car, or whatever it may be. And I remember coming back from that trip going like, in the moment, I'm like, we just got to make this thing happen. I'm going to make a dad decision, husband decision, and we are just going to make this happen, because I am not going to sit here, nor is my family. And yet coming back from that and seeing the added expense to go to another resort, different things, blah, 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 it was a financial hangover. And I was like, shoot, how are we going to figure this one out now?
Yeah, because there are a lot of different stressors that happen during this period of time. And like Tony said, some are expected, some are unexpected. I mean, one of the unexpected ones that happened to us starting 21 years ago is that both of our kids are born in between Thanksgiving and Christmas. So we have a November 29 baby and a December 13 baby. That was just biology. But some of you have mentioned, in some of the stressors that came off of the answers on Instagram, you have kids' birthdays or your birthdays in between the holiday season. I get that 100%. People talked about having to deal with taxes and end of year expenses just with your businesses on top of what's happening with finance. You've got balancing college tuition on top of the Christmas expense. Yes, because that second semester tuition payment comes right around Christmas. Merry Christmas, families. And
that's something we're dealing with. I was actually talking to our son just the other day about this. So, yes, that's another one that is just recently on our lap, and just trying to figure that out, because we go from Christmas, him here,
his birthday,
her birthday, going into a new tax year, and then we also have tuition for him in January. So
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Yep.
All the travel expenses, because you are visiting family. You are, those of you that have college age kids or kids that you're flying home, you have the pressure of buying gifts for everyone in your family. And that was a big part of that Christmas that went crazy. That was a big part of where those expenses came from, was this unspoken expectation to buy and buy well for everyone.
And I just want to put a little slash on gifts. It could be gifts / experiences, moments, whatever that is for you. Totally get it. Don't get locked in of like it has to be an actual present, because hey,
in some families that's not the case.
That's not,
Some of you talked about not knowing what gift limits are in terms of how much to spend. You shared that, there's a reduction in hours around the holidays, which leads to reduction in pay.
Sure.
Some of the stressors are, one spouse overspending. Guilty. All of the holiday parties and kids events and all of those different things. And what I want to say is we can't ignore this season from a place of financial intimacy, because those stressors, those financial stressors, will start to impact the other intimacies. They're going to impact your emotional intimacy and whether you're talking to one another and how you're talking to one another. As that tension starts to build up, your physical intimacy is going to be impacted on, are you sitting by each other on the couch? Are you holding hands? Are you even touching one another? Do you want to spend time together with your recreational intimacy? Or is it like, I'm so stressed, I don't want to do anything with anyone, right? And a lot of times when there is financial stress, it does impact a couple's sex life. So it's not like we're just talking about this going, hey guys, you need to have a sweet budget, for the holidays, because we just want you to, not overspend and have that financial hangover. We're doing this because that financial hangover doesn't just impact your finances. It impacts your entire marriage. And we need to talk about strategies that are going to make a difference for the two of you this year. And we're going to do that after this break.
RH, quer saber como voar no trabalho? É só usar a Flash. Com a Flash, você concentra toda a gestão de pessoas em um único lugar. Faça a admissão dos colaboradores e solicite mais de 8 categorias de benefícios. Ah, e você ainda pode fazer todo o controle de ponto. Conheça o novo onboarding integrado da Flash em flashapp.com.br.
Ideal mesmo para o mundo atual seria fazer o ensino médio junto com o curso técnico, certo? É no Senac que o aluno tem autonomia de verdade, formação cidadã, foco na diversidade, preparação para o Enem, material didático sem taxas e muito mais. Na real, tem tudo que você precisa para se sentir preparado para a vida. Seja para entrar no mundo do trabalho ou te ajudar a decidir o que fazer na faculdade. Quer saber? Senac. Vem comigo. Acesse sp.senac.br/ensino-médio-técnico.
We're back. And we're talking about strategies to avoid that holiday financial hangover. And, you know, like I said, this isn't Tony and Elisa say you need to have a budget. Like, truthfully, that's not why we're doing this episode. We're doing this because we know that if you can set yourselves up for success around your finances in November and December, then how do you get to start the new year? How do you start that without this hangover, without that place of chaos, but instead this place of going, hey, you know what? We were a team this year and we're going to high five each other and we're going to like start the new year feeling pretty darn good about ourselves instead of going, oh my gosh, you know, when the bills start to show up in January and you feel nauseous every time you either get the email alert that you've got a new credit card bill or the mail shows up and you're like, I think I'm going to be sick. And then that starts to pull the two of you apart. And I loved getting ideas from the one family about what the two of you can do this year. Some of these are so good. A fixed cost per person for gifts.
Yeah, just straight up.
Like straight up. Here's our budget. How many people are we buying for? Everybody gets $20 or everybody gets $50 or whatever it is for the two of you. And
I do want to say this though too, because Elisa and I are not gifty people. Like I just want to say that, and I know some of you are like, gift is my thing, like giving and giving or whatever. Giving and getting. I mean, sorry, did I say giving and getting?
You did say giving, giving.
You're like, I just want, and
which
that's
is really, and one of the things too is that our kids love gifts.
Yes, so our kids are the opposite of us, so it strains Elisa and I to have to try to like actually give them something because we're like, what are you talking about? Like, you're here, we're around each other, like. Go outside and enjoy yourself. It's a beautiful day. Like, especially when we would be going out like on our Christmas vacations, it was more of like, your gift is you're here and it's 80 something degrees and it's beautiful and there's a beach and there are pools and it's all inclusive. So go enjoy yourself. Where our children are very much gifts. Like they still want their gift. Like
they love gifts.
What are we getting? For my son, they are experiences. So for him, he likes getting, but it's tickets to the ball game, basketball, football, whatever it may be. Those are his like, oh my gosh. So even for Elisa and I, we've had to like get outside of who we are. And as we've gotten older and our children have gotten older, it can become very easy for Elisa and I to just be in our own little bubble and they just have to sort of deal with it. Elisa's better than me for sure on that. I see you holding back, honey. But Elisa is better, and she does think about them and the gifts that we would be giving them than I am. I'm more like, you're in my presence. Like, you should be happy.
No words. No words. And partly because I know that there are heads nodding all around the world right now going, yeah, Tony, you're absolutely right. And then there are others totally rolling your eyes going, but Tony, what about the Christmas tree and the presents under the Christmas tree? And that's just a funny little aside because we actually have to think about it. You and I have to think about a Christmas tree because we didn't.
Our Christmas tree is going to be a palm tree.
But we didn't bring our Christmas tree.
I know, but I like, you know what I really like?
Oh, goodness.
I like, no. I do like the card, you know, it's Santa underneath a palm tree with like it all lit up. Like, I love that. I want lit up palm trees. We do have our tropical palm trees here, babe.
I know, but I can't put presents under them.
All right.
Do you hear that little chuckle? He's like,
Some ideas from the one family. Let's
Somebody
go.
else mentioned my gift list app.
Okay.
Which allows you to not just track the gifts, but also what you've
Gift
spent. I actually looked it up. People talked about making a spreadsheet to keep track. One plan that we did years ago, and for many years, was to set aside money each week or each month all year long, so that at the end, or so that at December, you have this envelope or checking a savings account full of money, and that's just what you draw down. People talked about not using credit cards, using cash instead. Other people shared with us, get it done early so there's no emotional spending. I was like, there's a lot of brilliance to that. Not only is there not emotional spending, but there's not pressure spending when you're like, oh my gosh, I just got to get something. And then you're just, shipping 2-day shipping rates and all of that kind of stuff.
I'm gonna put a link to this. It's just called gift list, but if you go to mygiftlist.app.com, you can do both Google Play and Apple. So I'll put a link to this here because some of you may want to check this out. So we'll put this in. That's awesome.
I really appreciate some of the comments that came in that said, create a plan with extended family that takes the pressure off of expectations.
Say it again. Do what?
Create a plan with your extended family that takes the pressure off of expectations. And we did this. This is when we went to the whole Secret Santa thing within the family, where we just said, the family started expanding, and there were, cousins and spouses.
It just got
siblings.
it just got a little over, like, who are we buying for and why? And so
you would have all of this, like, okay, well, people are buying for everybody, but it's like everybody gets a $5 Starbucks gift card, and then everybody gets, it started becoming all of these like little things. And so we sat down, we had a family meeting, and we said, what if we did like a Secret Santa?
That's right.
Where we're just
that.
drawing one name, and here's the budget per person. We sat down and said, hey, what do we think we can afford per person, and family wise? So there was conversation, low financial intimacy. And then we used Elfster to draw names.
I thought it was Elfster.
We used Elfster to draw names. People could put their ideas in there.
I'll put a link to this one too.
And it made it really easy. And Christmas was more about like really thinking through, like, what am I getting for this one person?
Yeah.
Which for big extended families may be a great way to do it. Somebody else shared that with their children, they do 5 gifts per child following this formula. One thing they want, one thing they need, one thing to wear, one thing to read, and one gift from Santa. And I've heard different variations on that for children, so that it becomes, again, very intentional. It's not just like we're buying all of this stuff. And the one tip that came up from the one family that I think ultimately drives home on this financial intimacy conversation is for couples to communicate. The biggest thing that the two of you can do to avoid that holiday financial hangover is to start the conversation and keep having the conversation through the holidays. What are we doing? Where are we at? What are we seeing for gifts? Yes, we're already, I think it was probably a month and a half ago when we knew Alex for sure was coming to Florida for Christmas. And I heard him and Tony talking about, okay, God bless the state of Florida. We have so many different sports teams here. What games are on the table that they would consider going to go see, right? And they're having this conversation because we know that Alex is going to get tickets to a sporting event for Christmas. It's what he loves. But it's
and I do too. So in extension, like, if there is one thing I enjoy, it typically ends up being like a birthday Christmas present for him, just because of the cost of tickets and where we're sitting and all of that stuff. And he gets it. He understands. But for me as a dad, it's probably one of the biggest highlights I have. And, we get to go to the game, we're talking, we have a good time. It's just one of those things. And understand, he's 21 now. I didn't do this when he was 5. We started doing this when he was more like teenage years, 13, 14. He and I would go more to events. We go football games and basketball games. He was older, so he understood it. We could have these conversations. Now that he's 21, it's a whole nother story because, we're just hanging out. We're just doing our thing. And, it truly is. And I'm excited because we haven't seen that kid since July something at this point in time, July 28th, 27th. So when he comes here in December, it'll be 4 months,
5
months since we've seen him. So for me to get time and, possibly drive out to Miami and do that with him is well worth it, and something that I'm willing, and I know Elisa would say the same, something we're willing to put into our Christmas budget.
Mm-hmm. And those are the types of conversations. It's knowing your spouse, it's knowing your kids, it's knowing the people that you have in your world that you want to do something for. Mm-hmm. And actually, I think one of the things I forgot to mention was somebody also said normalizing handmade or homemade gifts.
Absolutely.
Over store-bought type things. And so it's just thinking through all of those things. And maybe even this week, the two of you sit down and say, okay, how are we going to create a plan for ourselves? Mm-hmm. And we wanted to make it easy for you. So we've got a holiday planner, holiday spending planner. Mm-hmm. that the two of you can actually sit down. You don't even have to initiate the conversation. You can just be like, hey, I heard about this on the podcast this week. Why don't we at least take a look at this and start the conversation? You can get it at oneextraordinarymarriage.com/holiday, but it's starting with the end in mind. It's starting with saying, hey, we don't want to have a holiday financial hangover. We want to go into this next year feeling unified and feeling excited about what the holidays were and excited about the year to come. And we do that with bringing intentionality into our financial intimacy around the holidays.
Yeah. You know what? Make sure you pick up that holiday spending planner. I'll put a link here in the episode notes for you, but do it. Sit down, start talking about it. This is the same thing Elisa and I do. It's just understanding where we're at for the purpose of we're coming into the end of the year, and I know, and Elisa and I both know, the most critical time for marriages is as we get out of Christmas and we start into the new year. Is it the first or second Tuesday of January?
First Tuesday.
First Tuesday of January is the highest day of the year for divorce filings. And so we want to set you up now so that way you're not looking at getting a divorce in January. We want you to go, you know what, we're going to address our financial intimacy. We're going to address some of these areas in our marriage now so we can step into the next year ready for whatever is ahead. You guys go get it, go after it, set up your holiday spending planner so that way you can come into the new year through Christmas and not have that financial hangover. You guys have yourselves a fantastic week. We'll catch you next week. Love you guys. Thank you for listening to the One Extraordinary Marriage Show. If you love this podcast, please leave a review on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you are listening. Your review helps others find the show and know that it's the right fit for them and their marriage.